Welcome back to 1010's podcast. My name is Michael Beck with Adam Nielsen and Mr. Handsome Robbie, and we have a guest on the phone this week. We have Mr. Mike Deford. He's the marketing manager with Titan Fuel Tanks. How you doing, Mike?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Real good.
Well, we're excited to have you on. Obviously, Titan Fuel Tanks has been a partner of ours, probably going on a couple of months now. We announced in last week's show that we're going to be doing a giveaway, which we want to talk about this week, but we want to know a little bit about, the company and some of your background, Mike. I know you've done some pretty interesting things, and we were talking about you're currently doing kind of a amateur rallycross at the moment, so maybe we could jump into that first. What are you guys up to with this rallycross?
Yeah, so I've my entire life, I grew up in an SCCA family. Dad brought me home from the hospital in a 5'10", the whole thing, and always worked in the industry. I have 25 years. All I've done is worked automotive aftermarket and racing, and I hate organized motorsports. And not talking bad about SCCA or NASA. I've worked for them, the whole thing, but the rules of snobbery, that sort of thing, it takes it away. It takes the fun away. We all do track days, we all do racing, whether it's autocross or not, and it all gets too serious, and we want to have fun. All of us want to have fun in our cars, and when it becomes too serious, we start losing interest, or it always turns into one thing or another. We go broke, because we have to spend more money on parts, whatever it is. So I've got 10 acres of property, and for the last couple of years we've been doing, SCCA rallycross sort of stuff for fun, bomber cars, $500 salvage yard sort of stuff that, we will, pitch in all together and go out and, run cones and jump over bumps and that sort of stuff. And it started getting more and more interest. We had more and more people wanting to be involved. So we're doing it for real. We've gone out and graded a track, made, insurance legal, yumps, and all that sort of stuff. And while we're not running true competition, everything will be timed, but we're not doing it by class. You could show up in a, Subaru Justy that's, rusted out, as long as it's, safe, or, you could show up in a brand new STI that, you think you're going to be the next WRC star and come out and have some fun and, compete for your own time, that sort of stuff. And really just doing it all for fun. And that's really where motorsports has got with me over the last 25 years is if I can't have fun doing it, I'm not going to spend time doing it.
Well, I think we all agree that the car that you're using to compete in this is interesting. It's pretty awesome for this particular application.
Yeah, so I bought a 2014 NISMO Juke front-wheel drive 6-speed, and I bought it, one, because I'm a Nissan guy. I always have been, and I like unique weirdo stuff, and so I could have picked, any Nissan, but it appealed to me. I needed a daily driver at the same time. It's fun. It's kind of quick. Car's a blast. I've completely rally lighted it out, put the hood pod on it, mud flaps, full rally suspension, running D-Mac tires daily on it, the whole thing. And people look at me like I'm a crackhead. I live in a conservative town, and people are looking at me like, what are you doing in this? But it's good. Other than the handling is absolute trash, because the 6-speed front-wheel drive car comes with a solid rear axle. There's not an independent rear option on the front-wheel drive. So trying to make a car handle bumps and slide sideways and all that with a solid rear axle. There's a reason guys don't drift, old Mustangs and stuff like that without putting a ton of work into them, because solid rear axles don't work real well. So I bought it not knowing that, and we'll see where it goes. But again, it's all for fun, and who really cares?
Definitely. So how many people do you think are going to be competing in this kind of homegrown series?
So last year we had regular 20, 25 guys coming out on a Saturday, and right now we're at 34, 35, I think, something like that, around the first weekend of June, and we'll see how many of them actually show up. But it's, again, I'm not doing it for money or anything, so whether one guy shows up or they all show up plus some, it's all good. So
yeah, it's interesting you're getting that many people, because it sounds like you're pretty rural, and are you getting people that are traveling then, or?
No, there's a good scene locally. Within we'll say 100 square miles, there's 100,000 people or something. And
Okay.
so there's a good car scene. There's a lot of track guys out here. Miller Motorsport Park's only 2.5 hours from us. So there's a group. But then a lot of the guys that I'm hearing from that have never done this sort of thing before are wanting to bring, pre-runner style trucks out, or, their Jeep and stuff like that, which we can't do via insurance. You can have a little bit of a lift, but it can't be crazy. Just, insurance doesn't want to deal with, high center of gravity and guys rolling over. So
how are you dealing with that insurance thing? Because anytime we've had anybody locally that's wanted to do an event, even at that Marshalltown track that they closed this year, that insurance thing is a freaking nightmare. I mean, who underwrites that? How do you even find the people that do that?
So I was marketing director with NASA, National Autosport Association, on the East Coast for a few years, and one of the things I dealt with was insurance there. So I sort of learned how to play the game there, and through contacts, I've made it really, really inexpensive. And we're not doing it again as a competition. We're timing it so you can get your own lap times, but we're not running classes. All the cars are being teched for safety, that sort of thing.
Sure.
But we're not running classes. There's no trophies, that sort of thing. It's really for fun and not anything else. If you want to bet your friend that you're faster, that sort of thing. But if we're to do it as competition, then the insurance or the cost of everything would increase, 10 times. But where we're doing is, basically a driving clinic.
Sure.
It helps keep costs down a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I suppose that's why the SCCA and NASA, have a hold on the market, because they can kind of spread that risk out among a bunch of regions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas,
and then it helps owning the property too. How many club events actually own, whether they're autocrossing or whatever it is. No one really owns the facility where they're running at. So there's the added, the property owner wants, $5 million accident coverage, that sort of stuff. Yeah. I don't have to write that into my deal because I own the property and there's absolutely nothing to hit. The closest house to me is probably a mile away. So there's not risk of hurting other people, that sort of thing. What we're doing for grid is away, that sort of stuff. So it just, it helps all the way around. I'm a guy that likes to hustle, and work the deals that I can, and, we'll work the angles to, make stuff happen. So.
No, I dig it. That's pretty cool.
It does sound like a ton of fun. That would be something I'd definitely check out if I were more local.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no one's a local to Idaho, so.
So, what led you to this point? Obviously you've been involved in NASA. You've done some other forms of racing. What are some of the other things you've experienced?
Like I said, my whole career is auto racing and automotive aftermarket. I started one of the independent import magazines in the late 90s called Street Racer that covered the import scene before the Fast and the Furious stuff took off. It was Rodney with Toy Machine Racing and I were the two independent magazines out at the time. I've done the U.S. Drift Series, which is based in Virginia. I was one of the partners that started that. A friend of mine, Chris Cabetto, who runs NASA East Coast, and I we're trying to figure out a way to bring younger guys out to the track. And at that time, it's 2002, and everyone was sort of into Initial D and putting trays under their front wheel drives and sliding them sideways and all that. And we said, well, let's try to do this. So we did it at a NASA track day at Charlotte Motor Speedway and ran drifting on the infield. And we had 15 guys show up, and by today's standards, it was all overly ghetto. But some of the guys that were there, Brian Eggert was there. Tony Angelo, who's a Formula D judge for a long time. I'm not sure what Tony's doing now.
He's on Hot Rod.
Jerrigan or Vaughn was there. Forsberg was there. All those guys were, they're all East Coast guys or were East Coast guys, and they ran with our series for 2 years until really FD took off. And then from there, the U.S. Drift sort of served as as it still does, as an AM series. I've done, marketing director for Hawk Performance, the brake company, and everything else. And a couple of years ago, I walked away from the industry. I said earlier, when it's not fun anymore, why do it? And racing and performance became not fun because it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I couldn't go to the track and have fun anymore because no matter what, I was always hustling for work. I tried to do a track day myself or go race, and would end up taking care of customers or working marketing deals, that sort of stuff, and it just it got to be not fun. So I walked away, and a company where I live, Titan Fuel Tanks. They manufacture large capacity diesel tanks for like F-350, Fords, regular diesel pickup trucks. So it takes like in a 2016 Ford F-250 short bed, the stock tank's 26 gallons. Our replacement tank is 50 gallons. No fab, no nothing, just bolt it right in, take your old tank out, bolt ours into place, and away you go. And so it kept me in the industry, but, made it so that I could go race and play and have fun and, not worry about working all the time.
I find it amazing that in this day and age that an OEM makes a product that, isn't 100% of what they could give, I guess. Maybe people don't really care, or most people don't care about fuel capacity for a truck, but to me, if you have a diesel truck and you're pulling, that would be something to take into consideration, is how much fuel can it hold? How far can I go between stops? But so it seems amazing to me that you can just drop a tank and replace it with a Titan tank, and with no fab,
like double your capacity.
Yeah, it seems amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, how many of us, travel to the track, pulling our car on a trailer, and you have to stop every 250 miles, to fill up with diesel. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's how the company started. 14 years ago, the owner, he liked going to Lake Havasu, and Lake Havasu from Idaho is 700 miles, and he was stopping every 250 miles with a giant fifth wheel and a boat and all that sort of stuff. And he was like, there's got to be some other way of doing this, and that was the start of Titan. And then from that we've grown. We do all sorts of stuff, like the tank we're giving away with you guys is gasoline legal and all of that. So we expand, as time goes on, and where I've got a racing background, and again, how many racers out there, drifters, autocrossers, what have you, are towing with a diesel truck. It made sense to partner up with you guys and some of the other guys out to, share the message and, get everyone knowing what we're doing and, supporting at the same time what everyone likes to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at the beginning of this partnership, you and I had some conversations about Titan and some of the things that you do, and, you made a point about tracks anymore. You're starting to see fewer and fewer of them actually carrying fuel for the cars, which is why this Sidekick transfer tank is so cool, because you can actually bring whatever fuel that you need with you and transfer it to the car.
Yeah, so it's going back about 5 years ago now. The EPA, who we all love, it came in and made it to where everyone had to upgrade their in-ground fuel tanks if they were selling fuel. So all the gas stations had to go to these new expensive tanks. Anyone that is selling fuel anywhere, the cutoff is next year, has to upgrade to these tanks. So your places like CMP or Summit or Willow, those sorts of places, they don't sell enough gas to warrant putting a $80,000 tank in the ground. And so it's just easier not to sell fuel because they know racers are going to know what's up and they're going to show up with fuel. But then you have a problem with that too, is you can't drive around with a 50-gallon drum in the back of your truck. Depending on what state you live in, there's huge fines for that. Especially depending, you get pulled over, and depending on how it's secured, stuff like that. I mean, we've seen trucks impounded. We know guys doing that. We do a lot of stuff within off-road racing, and guys that are running Baja and that sort of desert race stuff. And those guys, traditionally have run, their fuel tanks, in the back. They'll carry, 4 50-gallon drums, across the border to support a race car for a week worth of racing. And, that can't be done anymore without some huge fines. So we came up with this Sidekick tank, it mounts in the bed. It's 15 gallons, and it's legal for gas and diesel. And where it really started to take off was in, the motorcycle market, guys with dirt bikes and stuff like that, so they didn't have to carry 5-gallon cans and all of that. And then over time, and not without me, I wasn't pushing it. I really didn't know that, the road race crowd, the drift guys would take on to it. But over time, we've slowly started penetrating within the marketplace because It's a secure tank. It comes with a transfer pump. The transfer is just over 2 gallons a minute. So, it's only 15 gallons, but you can mount a couple of them. Some guys only need 15 gallons a race weekend, that sort of stuff. And so it makes it to where, you can really have be your self-serving fuel station. And that's important. How many autocross guys try to run with just the least amount of fuel they can in the car for, a single run plus, a little bit of idle time. The same with drift and everything else. And so it's really found a cool niche spot within the road race community, which is, cool for me because that's what I do and that's what my passion is. So it, brings me back full circle.
Definitely. I run with the fuel light on in the Fiat. I'll put it that way. Run with the minimum amount of fuel that it's actually going to run with. I carry a tank with me.
My car is very, very tail happy if I don't have at least a half a tank of fuel, and I've found that even with the extra weight, the car's probably still faster because it's not trying to slide around and kill me.
So sometimes you need to transfer in fuel purely for, weight transfer, really.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't realize you actually did that.
What's that?
Running with your...
Oh, yeah. For years, I've run with almost no fuel in that car.
How have I raced with you for this long and not realized you had a fuel tank in your truck?
Yeah, I'll put fuel in the car a couple times over the course of an autocross. I mean, unless we overfilled it or something like that. We'll run it with no fuel in it.
That's funny. I just go the opposite. I fill up in the morning so I can have enough gas to go there, do my racing all day, and then come home.
Leave. My problem is, though, my car wants to understeer, not oversteer. So less weight back there is probably a good thing. You know what I mean? Whereas with you... Well, especially now, you probably want more weight, try to get a little bit of weight transfer on the back.
Yeah, it's probably actually helping me more than it's hurting me.
Yeah. So, I don't think you have a weight power issue, to weight issue.
I'll probably be fine. Yeah.
You'll probably be fine, especially with those huge Hoosiers you put on there the other day.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
How wide are those?
245s.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're not that huge.
They're pretty big.
It doesn't start with a 3. It's not huge by modern day standards.
When they're square, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to look to it. Let's put it that way.
They stick way out, and I got to figure out how high I have to go with my suspension before I have to
actually use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. Anyways.
Yep. So, I mean, what are some of the other things Titan provides? I mean, obviously, we talked about OEM replacement tanks, and, I mean, you guys came from the diesel world. What do you guys provide to guys that do Baja racing or, do off-road things with their trucks as well? I know you have some Jeep applications.
Yeah, we've got a Jeep tank for, really it's a Jeep tank now, but we're in the process of developing new fitments so it'll fit an FJ Cruiser, that sort of thing, Isuzu Troopers, that sort of stuff, because there's such a demand for it. It's tough with gasoline. The EPA has regulations to where you can put an oversized diesel tank, replacement tank in your truck, but you can't do that with gasoline. We got guys with Tundras especially that, beat our doors down all the time demanding, a bigger replacement tank, but it's just not EPA legal. They do not allow it. There's no way to do it. You do it if you went to a race shop and had a certified race fuel cell, fabbed into the truck or your car, whatever it is, but that's the only legal way to do a larger gas tank. And so with gasoline, we're limited to transfer, which means you have to stop the vehicle, you have to use a pump, and pump it out while you're stationary. You can't gravity feed, you can't do a larger tank, you can't do that sort of stuff. So on the gas side, we're very limited to really the off-road guys and then our sidekick and bed tank. On the diesel side, we really do a little bit of everything, from transfer tanks that go in the back of the truck to the replacement tanks. We do a tank that goes in the spare tire well of a truck. You've got a Chevy 2500 and you've put a 6-inch lift on it and you're running 38-inch tires. Your spare tire is worthless now, and so that space is always sat empty, and guys that have done those, sorts of modifications to their truck. And so we created a 30-gallon auxiliary fuel cell that mounts in the spare tire area and feeds fuel to the main tank as you drive down the road. So, it's really all about increasing everyone's drivability and capacity, keeping guys out of the gas stations. The DOT says the average fuel stop, which I think is ridiculous. I've never stayed at a gas station for 32 minutes, but that's what they say the average person spends in a gas station is 32 minutes when they're filling up with fuel.
That's way too long.
Which, again, I'm not that guy, but, that's their study, not ours. So, it keeps people on the road longer. And, for people like hotshot drivers, you see the guys delivering tractors or whatever it is, being pulled by a Ram, an F-350, whatever it is. Those guys are being paid by the mile, and the faster they get a job done, the better. So if they can go 3 times the distance, 2 times the distance, whatever it may be, it means they're home quicker, they're finishing the job quicker, and they're getting paid. So with our products, you can also run them all piggybacked together too. You can run a 100-gallon in-bed tank with a 30-gallon spare tire tank and a 50-gallon replacement tank. So you're pushing, 165 gallons or whatever. And you can drive from San Diego to Texas, without stop. And that's
so
other than ski, of course.
Yeah.
But, so it's really about giving the customers the ability to, have the freedom to do what they want in their vehicles.
That's pretty cool. That's a really interesting business model. Now, you guys have kind of a different approach to tanks, I guess. A lot of guys make, metal fuel tanks and things like that, but what do you guys make yours out of? It's not polycarbonate, but...
Yeah, it's a cross-linked polymer.
Okay.
So it's basically the same stuff that they use in, like, the Abrams tanks and use in the military and, attack vehicles, that sort of stuff. And so a metal tank will rust, it'll corrode, it'll bend, it'll break, all of those sorts of things. Polymer doesn't do that. It keeps its shape. We've done video where, you run into it at 30 miles an hour, mounted on the back of a truck, and, it'll make an impact, it'll push in, and then it pops right back out to place. So we're the only company out doing a lifetime warranty on fuel tanks, because you can't warranty a metal fuel tank. I mean, it's impossible. Who wants to be on the hook for replacing a guy's tank? If a guy lives, in Minnesota where they have horrible winters, roads are salted, all that sort of stuff. The cars rust out immediately anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You sell a guy a $1,500 fuel tank and you've got to replace it in 2 years because it's rusting out. You just can't do that. Our stuff doesn't rust, doesn't corrode. So it's cool. It takes a little bit for people to get used to that. The guy that's bought the traditional metal tank for so long looks at it and goes, I'm not buying a plastic tank. Well, they don't understand, really the strength of it and the reasoning, behind that.
I think that YouTube video you guys have where you drop them from cranes does a very good job of demonstrating the difference. So
yeah, that's a fun part of a job, when you can rent a crane and drop fuel tanks from 30 feet up with GoPros mounted on them. What's crazy about that video, if you watch it, is the DOT, the EPA, and all those guys actually allow a tank to leak X amount of fuel. I think it's something like 1/8 of a gallon a minute or something like that in an impact. Ours, you watch the video, ours clearly doesn't break. The other guys will shatter and break apart. Ours don't leak a drop. We had a guy in, I want to say it was Michigan, had a Ram truck. He was rear-ended and T-boned in the same accident. Chassis destroyed, the whole thing, and the pictures of the tank are, I'm going to say more than impressive, and of course I'm biased, but the tank is 100% intact while the frame rail right next to it is, bent like a pretzel.
It's pretty amazing when you watch you guys drop that metal tank. I mean, that speaks for itself. I assume that was water in that tank, but it's everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's spilling all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, metal just doesn't have that flex. It doesn't have any give. You can't change metal's properties, and so when you impact it or it gets crushed, there's only 2 things that can happen: is it's either going to break or it's going to collapse in on itself so far that it's still going to rupture, out the cap or a breather valve or whatever it is.
Sure. Yep. So obviously, you guys are partnering with us. Are you guys sponsoring any other motorsports this year?
Yeah, we do some stuff in off-road racing, Baja-type off-road desert race stuff. Sponsor a couple of road race guys around the country, grassroots guys, nothing at a pro level or anything like that. We do some motocross, working on maybe a rally program. There's a team out of Seattle that runs a Subaru program and everything that they tow with. They've got 3 F-350 tow vehicles, and they're using our tanks right now. They actually bought them, not reaching out to us or anything. And then I saw the name on it and recognized the name, looked back at them, and reached out. And so we're trying to do some stuff there. So it's really sort of small at this point. We're doing it to test the waters. While I said that we're being embraced where we are. Before you can spend marketing money, you gotta make sure the market's truly going to support what you're doing. And so we're sort of taking baby steps right now and having a little fun.
Did you go to the Baja 1000 this year? Did you say you were there? I thought.
No, not last year. I've done it a ton before, but
Okay.
I haven't done it this past year.
You were at King of Hammers, wasn't that what it was?
That's what it was.
Yeah, I did King of the Hammers this year.
That's quite an interesting race, it looks like.
Really, it's not about a race. I mean,
Well, right.
I don't mean
Event, I should
any
say.
disrespect to those guys that put that on, but it's a week-long party. Everyone camps on a lake bed. There's 65,000 people that camp out every night and shoot off fireworks and go wheeling during the day and all of that sort of stuff. It's very odd. You'd be in the middle of the desert. I mean, we're 65 miles from the closest town, and we're hanging out in our booth one day, and a girl walks by pulling a wagon, and she's selling Girl Scout cookies. It's like 10:30 in the morning, and it's 75 degrees out, and we're really nowhere near anything. So hopefully, she came with, a racer, an enthusiast that was out there. But it's a cool event, but you have to be a hardcore off-road guy. And I like off-road, but I'm not hardcore enough that staying in the desert and being that dirty for 8 days is anywhere near fun.
Yeah, I bet. I never even thought about that. You probably get sand and stuff in places you didn't even know was possible.
Yeah, I take a secondary phone with me. I don't take my iPhone. I take an old Samsung because it'll be caked with dirt, and half the time it'll come back just destroyed. So
Completely
you don't
worthless.
take nice clothes. You don't take anything nice. It's just you live. It's sort of like Burning Man. Really, that's what it is. It's Burning Man, but with off road instead of a bunch of drunk hipsters.
I don't know. Apparently, I don't know anything about this.
Burning Man?
Well, no, not Burning Man.
Oh, okay.
But what are they actually doing for events? I mean, what's the sanctioned part of this?
So it's a rock crawling rock race. Rock crawling forever was guys basically just idling over big giant obstacles, and then the Cole family, which is in charge of King of the Hammers, decided to throw a racing element into it. So half of the race is desert Baja style racing, and then the other half of it is going over overly technical, climbing up mountains, that sort of stuff, over crazy rocks and that sort of thing. No one does it. Well, I shouldn't say no one. Very few people do it in a production stock chassis type of Jeep, even though there is a class for that. But they have, I don't know what it is, 4 classes or something, and it's really a festival. It's an off-road festival with some racing thrown in the middle of it. And the race is crazy. I mean, if you get into it and you can appreciate the technical side of the driving and what it takes, you enjoy it a lot more. Again, I enjoy off-road and I can appreciate it, but when you see what a guy's able to do with one of these things and the stuff they could go over and crawl and all that is definitely impressive.
I'm sure these guys are the best, too, in the country.
Actually, that's one of the cool things about it is we sponsor a kid who it's him, his girlfriend, his brother, and a couple of other friends. They camp out there. They get drunk every night, that sort of thing. And they didn't finish. They broke, like 100 miles from the finish or something like that. But, they were still competitive in their class. And then you have guys, Casey Curry, or that sort of name that go out there and, have, $1 million budgets and huge sponsors and that sort of thing. And,
Sure.
Go for broke.
It's cool when you can get that form of motorsport where you get both, because a lot of what you see televised anyway is just big dollar motorsport.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Jesse Combs goes there or has been going there the last couple of years too.
Oh, from
She used to do a lot of
she was on Speed TV.
a lot of TV shows.
And she did that rally in Cedar that came through Cedar Rapids that we didn't go to, and I can't remember what that was called, but it was like a
the
vintage.
Great Race,
Yeah, it was called the Great Race.
something like that.
She's doing.
Von Gittin, the monster Ford driver in Formula D, he built a rock rig and goes out. He's raced King of the Hammers the last 2 years.
Oh no shit! Really?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Does he have have a team? Because Forsberg has like a team now, or was he just doing that just because it was fun?
I don't know how Von's deal is set up for sure. I don't know if someone else is building it, manning it, that sort of thing, and he just drives. I don't know. I don't know his program real well.
Do you guys like BJ Baldwin? Baja 1000 winner. Does he go to stuff like King of the Hammers, or is that not really his
I don't
scene?
think BJ's ever ran out there.
It's just a very weird.
It is. It's
event.
like a mix of everything. It's a mix of people from a lot of different scenarios, and then a lot of partying, which is that part's cool too. But
I think it'd be fun for a day, but I think it'd be good and ready to go.
I think Mike hit the nail on the head. Go there for a couple days, experience it, and then try to blow all the sand out of your nose. You especially would have a terrible time.
God,
there.
it'd be so miserable.
Could you imagine all of your stuffiness, but then compounded with sand? You wouldn't be able to breathe at all.
Coolest thing we saw this year was a kid had a Mercedes-Benz 300D, 4-door sedan that he ripped the trunk out of and put like a pre-runner style, vertical spare tire carrier in the back of it. Didn't lift it at all, still running on Mercedes wheels and the whole thing, and was just bahing around out there for fun all week long, racing through the whoops and bottoming out, the whole thing. I mean, it's he's out there for fun, and that's all. What makes it so great is you got these guys that are taking it way overly serious, and then you got this kid that shows up in this horrible 300 Mercedes and is just going to go for broke and see if he can leave it out there in 100 pieces.
That guy gets it.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Did you see, it was one lap 2 years ago, a guy had, I don't even know what it was that he had, one lap of America, and it broke down. And so his solution for that is he bought a Crown Vic, like a $500 Crown Vic off Craigslist, and he finished it in that car.
I think the following year there were more than one of them that did that.
Oh, really?
That ran Crown Vics.
That's the new
the
thing
year
now.
that you and I went, Robbie, there were two of them there?
I think there was two. Well, there's that and there's that station wagon.
Yeah, there was like a family vacation style station wagon.
Oh, the Vista Cruiser?
Yeah, there you go.
Hell
That's
yeah.
what it's called.
I bet those guys had more fun in the Craigslist car than some of those guys in like the McLarens. They definitely had more fun than the guy in the Atom, because I bet that guy was just miserable.
That would have been awful.
Oh my Lord.
I remember seeing the picture of him in the rain.
Did you
sleeping?
Did you see any of this, Mike?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That guy, he's got bigger balls than I do, I guess. That's intense to do all 8 days or whatever that is. And that was the year that they had those really bad tornadoes, and they were out in Texas, and it was raining, and they were in like hail, and they were in that Atom.
That was the year that Bill did it, right?
Yeah.
We have a good
Bill.
friend that did it and is doing it again this year.
Yep, he's doing it again this year. He's prepping his car as we speak, because I think it starts in a month or 3 weeks or something like that. It's coming up pretty quick. It's a cool race. It's a interesting race series. It's not cheap, but if you can do it, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's not like been intruded upon by huge names, even though Gas Monkey has in the past done it. I don't know if they're going to do it this year.
There's a lot of pro-level drivers that you don't realize are pro-level drivers out there.
Oh, like maybe not huge names, but people getting paid.
Yeah, a lot of like sports car race, like lower level, but still pro drivers.
Oh, I got you. Yep.
That show up to those events.
Well, Roadkill's doing it this year.
Yep.
And Pikes Peak's the same way. Pikes Peak is, stayed true 100%. I mean, you have Sebastian Loeb show up with $1 billion program, but then I've got a friend here locally that is taking his S12 ghetto Nissan and racing it this year. Him and his brother are the only crew in it. So it's cool when you can have that mix, because it gives all of us hope. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is if we can see a normal guy getting his rocks off and having a blast, whether it's real serious in a jalopy, whatever it is, it gives us hope we can all do it too.
That is the best way to view racing. Like, to have that mix.
Yep.
I really like seeing that.
I agree with you 100%, Mike. I think a lot of even smaller organizations sometimes take the process of it way too seriously and then ruin the fun. So I've experienced that too. And I feel like, drifters have been pretty good about that. Things may change after that dude got hit in the face with that wing down in, was that Kansas City?
Yeah.
Topeka.
Topeka. It was Topeka. I'm sure you saw that picture, Mike. That made a pretty good, some pretty good rounds. But yeah, that dude got, for those that don't know, and I don't know who this would be because it was everywhere. Everybody was leaning up against a wall, which in normal motorsport, nobody would ever let people lean on a wall. But everybody was leaning on a barricade, and that kid was out there, looked like he had a camera in his hand, and it was a 350Z, I think, I think it was a Big Country
Labs.
The wing sticking off the back of it, and the end plate just smacked him right in the face as he was coming around.
Did you see the driver gave him the end plate?
Yeah, I did.
But it did more than smacked him. Like, it punched him. It was
he was hurt.
Style knockout, sort of. It was impressive.
He got John Jones for sure.
He's lucky he's not dead.
Yeah, actually, he is lucky he's not dead. Could have crushed his skull.
That could have been bad.
That was a bad deal. So, anyway, yeah, there's a lot of cool motorsports out there for people, to participate at all different levels. That's for sure.
You just have to go and find it. I mean, that's. It's like me doing the rallycross thing. You got to have a desire to do it and, make stuff happen. Even if there's nothing going on, make what you want. I mean, the closest true rallycross to me is a 9-hour drive. Well, I got to drive 9 hours to take 3 runs in dirt. Forget that. I got other stuff to do. So, make your own opportunities. And that's the biggest thing in all of motorsports or cars in general is you got to make it your own, because if you follow the trends, you get suckered into, I got to do it this way. You'll either go broke or you'll be miserable, one of the two.
That's the approach that we've all taken, and that's why our PAX numbers all suck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But
so anyway, before we switch over and do anything else, just want to remind everybody, we've talked about it already on the show, but we are giving away a Sidekick tank from Titan. So go to our Facebook page. There will be details on there about what you need to do to apply for that. We'll post everything up there. It will have been posted for a few days by now, by the time this episode comes out. And there'll be a time limit. It's limited to the continental United States, but there'll be all the details on there. So please go to our Facebook page, and you'll see how you can sign up for that. And we'll be giving that away here shortly. So anything else you can think of, Mike? Anything you want to share before we move on?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I appreciate the time and, let me inform everyone, what Titan's about. It's an important part of, any marketing partnership is being able to, take advantage and let everyone know what we're doing and why we're involved with you guys, because a lot of people can just throw money around and not give a crap what you do, and I think it's important for your fans to know that the guys that are supporting you are doing it because number one, I've been a listener forever, but number two is because we're all doing this stuff too. 3/4 of our company races something at some point in the last 10 years, so we're just like everybody else.
I think we talked about partnerships and sponsorships a little bit on this show, and at some point we may dive into that a little bit more, but I think that's an important point to make, is that if that's something you want to get into and you want to do more of with companies, finding the right alignment and then, working on that partnership is important. So we appreciate the work that you guys have done, and it's awesome. We're really enjoying it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
I just remember when you first reached out to us, I was driving down the interstate when we got that message, and I literally just about crashed my car. I was so pumped about it.
I think the moral of that story is don't text and drive.
Get off your phone, Adam.
But it's been a
Titan
it's
Tanks
been a
does
great
not
deal.
condone looking at your phone while driving.
So,
Robbie, I think we should move on to the news presented by Titan Fuel Tanks.
Well, since we've already been talking about rally, Chevy adds a rally sport package to their Tahoe and Suburban, which is probably going to handle a little bit worse than your Juke. Arguably.
Maybe.
It's a little it's a little taller, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the details on this, it's kind of more of a package. It's not really like a separate, line of Tahoes. It's just it's a Tahoe with a package. Comes with the 6.2 version of the LT that comes in the trucks. It's 420 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque. It's got 10 gear things, which is a lot.
So many.
It's a lot of gears.
It's so crazy.
For all the fuel economy, up to 12.
0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds.
Which is
Thereabouts.
quick
That's
for
very-
something that big.
That's really quick.
It's very fast for a Tahoe. Definitely.
That's quicker than your SS, isn't it?
It's the same, but I only
Basically
have
the same.
4 gears. And mine weighs 4,400 pounds. I can't remember what this weighs.
Right.
It weighs quite a bit more.
Right.
So everybody was like, "This is dumb," because Jeep makes a 700 horsepower thing now, and I disagree. I don't think that it's dumb at all.
This has a real towing capacity and is actually useful.
Yeah, this will sell, whereas the Jeep will not.
I found it very interesting because we found this article on Jalopnik when we started talking about this, and what's his name? Andrew Collins, who runs Truck Yeah. He was talking about how stupid the timing was for releasing this, which may be true. You know, Jeep and Durango and all that have been on the forefront of high-powered SUVs in the last few months. But then in the comments, everybody literally said, "But yeah, this is the one that I would buy."
And that's the important thing.
Right.
I mean, who cares when it comes out if people are buying it?
If Durango makes something better or this or that or whatever. If I think it will sell, I totally agree with them. And maybe their timing was bad, but I think this is probably a good move for Chevy.
I mean, the thing is everybody grows up at some point. You know, I'm 45. I've got 3 kids, a wife, all that. I've got a minivan in my driveway. I hate driving it, but I need a tow rig. I need some of the capacity, that sort of thing. So I own a minivan, but that thing's 100 times better than a minivan, or 100 times better than any other SUV except for that Jeep out there. So, you know, why wouldn't you get behind it?
This is still more utilitarian than that Jeep is, though. That's what I think is the big selling point for it, is that it's actually got a real towing capacity. It's still a truck. The Jeep is kind of in this weird marketplace where it doesn't really work well for anything it's sold for.
It's not a real like race car. You know what I mean? But they kind of want it to be.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's not a full-sized SUV either. The Denali with this engine can tow 8,400 pounds, which for a half-ton chassis,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. So you can easily, you can tow quite a bit with this. You can take your kids, you can throw the dogs in the back, you can do the whole deal. So I think as many Tahoes as they sell, as popular as they are, I think it's an easy upsell for a lot of people to just, step it up a little bit and get some more power and have something that's fun while also being somewhat practical.
Yeah.
It's very practical knowledge that we're dropping right now.
It's Rob-sponsible.
It is Rob-sponsible. What else we got, Robbie?
Well, Fernando Alonso is going to skip the Monaco Grand Prix and then race at the Indy 500. And since last time we talked about Formula One, people got all up in arms. We're just going to do that again. Piss off a lot of people.
What's your take on this? Because I find this incredibly interesting that he's being allowed to do this.
I think it's a huge mistake on McLaren's part.
On whose
McLaren's part?
On McLaren's part? Why?
Because this is a high risk for them. Like, if I look at this the same way I look at, like, I'm going to just use Tom Brady as an example. The Patriots pay Tom Brady ass tons of money, and they're like, hey, part of your contract says you can't ride a motorcycle because if you crash and die, we're out a shit ton of money.
Right.
That's how I would look at this with Fernando Alonso. McLaren's paying you $40 million, and we're not competitive, and they've already given up on this season. They made it very clear, we can't win this year. Why bother? Who cares? Go race the Indy 500. So Fernando's going to go race the Indy 500 being paid $38 million more than the next racer. If he crashes in an Indy race, it just totally screws up his career next year at, assuming say worst case scenario, he gets hurt, and it ruins his Formula One career. To me, that's not worth it for McLaren or Fernando Alonso, even though he is probably chasing out not the Triple Crown, but what do they call that? Where you win Monaco.
Hat trick.
It's the, I can't even think of the races. It's the 24 hours of Le
Mans.
Daytona 500.
And Monaco.
Yeah.
And he's already done Monaco, right?
Well, yeah, obviously, because he's skipping Monaco.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's won it or not. I don't follow that close.
Yeah, won Monaco. I'm not sure about that.
He has. Back 6 or so years ago.
What's your take on this, Mike?
It's all a marketing thing. I mean, I'm going to be, conspiracy theory guy here, but, we finally have a new group behind Formula One, and, Liberty's trying to do as much as they can to grow the name, especially in the United States. I mean, that's That's a firm goal of theirs. They've been very public about it. So you put a very likable Formula One driver into, we'll say, arguably the biggest IndyCar race of the year, which is going to get a ton of press. And they're working already with IndyCar to ensure that Alonso gets all of that hype, the marketing, the TV interviews, and all that. And then who's running in Indy, after the 500? Formula One's back. So it can potentially then bring fans that became fans of Alonso to the Formula One race that might not have been there before. That's the marketing side of it, in my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as driver mistake, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, he's reaching at anything, I think, because he's got to be miserable. I mean, guys, he was God for a long time. He was right there, and what would they finish? They did one lap in practice this week?
Yeah,
before the cars blew up. I saw all sorts of stuff on Facebook about they're not even qualified to run a Lemons race, and that's true.
That's true.
If you're going to idle a Lemons race, they couldn't pull it off. And it may be fast for a couple of laps, but then what's going to happen? A Mercury Cruiser is going to beat him. And so I think that, for him, he's trying to maybe just have fun and prove that he still has it. But the problem is he's not going to have enough testing time. I don't care how much he's there. He's not going to have the seat time. And other guys have come and run Indy and done well, but that was Indy 40 years ago, before things are the way they are now, and aero packages and all the dynamic controls and all of that sort of stuff. It's not the same as when the guys did it before. And so on a driver's side, I think it's a huge mistake. For McLaren, I sort of see that McLaren is maybe looking at entering Indy, and I know that's been rumored out there a little bit, but they've been in talks for. I know there were talks 2 years ago that they were looking at possible entrance 2 years ago and what it would take to be involved. So this also may be a way of them to tiptoe into it by teaming up with Andretti.
Yeah, and I think that'd be amazing if McLaren would get into IndyCar.
I think that would help.
It'd just add a lot of international name recognition. Like you associate McLaren with IndyCar. It's just a win-win for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. And I think you definitely nailed it from a marketing perspective, because I saw, when we were looking this up, 3 separate articles about this one scenario with him going and racing this Indy race. I saw a comment from Lewis Hamilton about how he would like to do the exact same thing, maybe not Indy.
He also said MotoGP, which would be off the table.
No sense at all. Would you let your Formula One driver go race in a MotoGP race?
Never.
Of all the races I would say no to, that's pretty high on my list.
Right. He was like, oh, I could do Indy, or I could do NASCAR, or I could do MotoGP. And I was like, wait a second. One of these is not the same as the others. You need to slow down.
Yep.
And then I saw there was a comment from Bernie Eccleston about how he would never let this happen.
Absolutely not.
Which, that's kind of old school Bernie, but, he's not in charge anymore, so he's got a fake title, basically. Chairman Emeritus or whatever his title is now, so his opinion is worthless. They take his good ideas and then throw his bad ideas away.
He's a figurehead. He doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. They just keep him around because he's Bernie and he's been in the sport forever. But, it's generated a ton of news for them. Internationally. So it's worked well from that perspective. But
already,
right? I guess we'll see what happens if he does poorly. That may work against him too. Right. If he finishes really poorly or he crashes the car.
Yeah, well, it's still being talked about more this week, and there was a race 3 days ago.
Yeah.
No one's talking about Bahrain.
Nope.
They did that day. But everyone's still talking about Alonso and the outrage that he's doing, or the support that he's doing, whatever it is. It's definitely generating interest and eyeballs, and that's what matters, is exposure.
That was even a good race, too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a great race.
So I guess
it really killed my my fantasy GP team.
Did it?
Oh God!
You were fourth in the fantasy GP. What happened?
I don't know. I didn't get anything right this week. I lost a bunch of points. It's not pretty.
Who's winning?
I don't remember. I think Ian from Team Clearcoat is in first, but I found out that he paid for the pro level, so he gets a little some more budget than the rest of us. And
Cheater.
Hardly
Sounds
seems
like
fair.
cheating to me.
Collusion.
Sounds like pro motorsports to me.
He's just got more money than you.
More
Adam.
ahead of everyone else.
It's a very good point.
He's doing it right, actually. He's doing it by the books.
The only thing I have left on that is that McLaren is clearly showing their hand saying, we will do anything to keep Fernando Alonso happy. We can't give him a car.
We will pay him anything.
We'll pay him whatever he wants. We've made that clear.
Yep.
We don't want him to sign with someone else next year when his contract's up. So we'll give him anything that makes him happy. If it means racing in a different series, if it means putting him on vacation the rest of the year, if he has ice cream cones at every, I don't know, just stupid shit.
Wouldn't you though, if you were Fernando Alonso, wouldn't you
How
ask?
far can I take?
Right,
this?
wouldn't you ask for the dumbest stuff you could possibly come up
Yeah,
with?
and like even before, like when they're saying like we're not competitive, but in the future, let's hope that we are. We're going to invest in this driver. We think this is the best driver. Like I pissed off a lot of people a month ago already when I said that he hasn't done anything in 3 years. He might be a great driver, but he hasn't done anything. And they believe in him. And he made a mistake of leaving Ferrari and going to McLaren right at the worst time ever. So maybe McLaren's hoping they can stick with us. We'll
team
make it worth your
problems.
while.
How we said this last time. How old is he though? He's like
35.
35. Okay.
So he's probably starting to hit that downhill slide.
Yeah, as I say, how many
So
years do you have left in Formula One? You know,
I don't know.
it's kind of a young man's game. It's brutal. It's a physically brutal
It would be
motorsport series.
It would be awesome to see McLaren get a decent car next year and have him be up towards the front battling with everyone else.
That's the team I want to see succeed the most.
Yeah, I love McLaren.
I love McLaren.
Yep. So maybe next year. Let's hope he stays. I think it'd be cool if he stayed.
Yeah, we'll see what
Have McLaren be up in the ranks.
We'll see what happens. Does anybody remember the date for the Indy 500 race?
May something.
It's
Gosh,
in May.
I can't remember.
Okay.
We're terrible at this.
I know. we bring real journalism, and then we bring
Terrible.
We can't do anything. We don't remember any dates. Don't remember any figures. So
No.
that's par for the course for us. What's the next thing, Robbie?
Nissan has decided that the 350Z is not a priority, and they're going to let us know about that.
I want to get Mike's take on this first because he said he's a self-proclaimed Nissan guy. He has a Juke, obviously, Nismo. How do you feel about this, Mike?
I've owned 36 Datsun Nissan cars in my life.
That's
and
amazing.
Robbie, get your
the,
shit
the
together.
company as a whole makes me sick. I mean, it really does. I mean, they clearly don't care about enthusiasts, and I understand that enthusiasts, we don't drive the marketplace. That the soccer mom, the college kid, whatever is the demographic that buys more cars than anyone. But they are still here and have got to where they are based on enthusiasts. I mean, the cars that have made them what they are. I mean, even a Sentra SER, the 510, the original Zs. I mean, the current Zs. Anything except for a early '90s Z. Those should have been aborted. But they should be an enthusiast brand. You look at Dodge. I mean, Dodge clearly is also trying to sell a soccer mom, but has 4 amazing cars if you want to be an enthusiast, from an SUV to, a track day Viper. And how Nissan can sort of ignore it is baffling. And now that they're behind Mitsubishi, the Evo's already gone, but what's Mitsubishi going to turn into? It's going to be the same thing. We don't need more utilitarian cars, and so. I'll never, switch my love of the brand, but it's hard to support a company that clearly doesn't give a crap about me, my friends, my interests, that sort of stuff. It's I drive a Nismo Juke, but it's all it is a name badge and cool seats. It's not really that much different than the stock Juke, but I also own a Mazda Speed Protege, and that Mazda Speed over a stock Protege is night and day. So they half-ass it, and that sucks from any company. So I'm sick of it.
I went down a dark JDM road recently, and I've been hiding this from Adam slightly, but I was asking Robbie all these questions about Nismo shit, you know what I mean, like S chassis stuff, and he's telling me like these parts fit on this, and this you can get this with this, and this chassis is the same as this, and it's like everything in the 90s that was Nissan all swapped
somewhat
around.
Yeah, you could make something fit in something else. I remember Travis was over when he was buying car parts off me. He was looking at my 240. He's like, "Yeah, man, I was learning about these." I can't remember off the top now. I wish I really would remember what he said, but the center of the S14 is the same as the Skyline or something. and then the bottom rear end is the same as the S14 or S13, or this, he just kind of listed up. He's like, these are all the same as this, and it's just crazy how if you really wanted to, you could just kind of cut and swap, and everything would work. And
Honda was that way in the same time frame too.
Yeah,
I mean that to me is like super cool because if you wanted to get, you know how I love drift spec sedans all of a sudden out of nowhere, but like if you wanted to put S chassis parts on those sedans, you can do that. I mean that's a thing that you can do, and you can get adjustable control arms, and you can. You could make swap kits work and stuff like that, and that to me is like awesome. But who could you go out today and buy a car like that from?
No,
nobody.
Yep.
I mean, you could get a FRS and do stuff with it,
but everything that's on the FRS is only
FRS
or BRZ, but the same car.
Yeah.
So it's not like what aren't your brakes from a 350?
Actually, my front brakes are off a 300ZX twin turbo. All it takes is a bracket to make them fit, and then the rotors are off a 350Z. They're Brembo track pack 350Z rotors.
Yeah. That's not going to happen with an FR. You're not going to go down to a junkyard and pull parts off of a TC because they're better than what's on the FRS.
No. But to Mike's point, Nissan doesn't care that I feel that way. No, who cares? Who cares? Nobody cares. Oh, you're going to buy a car that's 20 years old? Okay, great. Thanks. Cool story.
But you could
I'm going to sort of argue, though, that Subaru is sort of still that company. I mean, you buy a current WRX and a lot of stuff out of the GC8 chassis will still work in it, and, all the way up. So, I mean, whether they've done that on purpose, for us, or it's just, convenience is a different thing. But, you can take the suspension out of a Forester and an Outback and throw it into, any standard Impreza, and then have a taller, more rally spec type suspension and that sort of stuff too. But they're a brand that at the same time doesn't really care about us either at this point, and I think that's clear by the current offerings of, WRXs and the STI. They are what they are, but.
We had a local friend of ours who did the opposite with his Forester. It was basically an STI underneath.
Yep. He actually took the parts off of Legacy and put them on. He had Fortune coilovers, and he had a fully built Legacy, and it was involved in a kind of a light racing accident. He just swapped all the parts over to a Forester, and it had some weird reactions to like launching and hard cornering, but he swapped all the parts over, and he had a Forester STI. So
he had a lot of problem with center of gravity issues because of all the glass up high, and so it had some very weird handling characteristics. But it was a lot of fun to ride in.
Yeah, it looked very interesting.
It had like a big front splitter on it and everything. It was so race car. It was awesome.
It was cool. Yeah. It was cool. It's long gone since, but yeah, I suppose Subaru probably is. That's probably the last holdout, but we'll probably see them do less and less. And like you said, the STI is not different. I guess it's kind of all the same. I mean, you can claim that the new 2-liter motor is different, but it's not. It's kind of all the same as the old 2.5.
The new one's really lost its edge, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's not exciting, let's put it that way.
I'm sure it's a great car.
I'm sure it is a great car. It has a great interior.
But I'm not running out and buying one either.
No. So, anyway, we're not getting a new Z car, apparently. Or at least it's not a priority.
Yeah, they're hanging their head on the GTR, which
is ridiculous,
because I'm not that interested in.
Well, the one that their concept or what they're planned to go to is, leaps and bounds more expensive than what they're already at. So, hanging your hat on a $200,000, $300,000 car, not really an option.
I think that the problem is, like, if you look at the other cars that are out there that are like the Z, like the FRS and the BRZ, the Toyobaru twins, it was not a very good selling, or is not a very good selling car. It did great the first year or two, but now everybody who wants one has one, and now you can't give them away.
They've sold 30,000 BRZs and 62,000 FRSs in the United States.
Since the start?
Since 2012, yep. So less than 100, probably 100,000 now, because that doesn't include 2017. So it'd be 2012 through 2016. So less than 100,000.
That's not that many.
It's not a lot, no.
And so it's very hard to make an argument for a two-seater sports car when everybody else can't sell theirs either.
I found it interesting that they've only sold 35,000 Miatas over the same time period, which is a lot less.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's less. I think it'd be more.
I would have thought it was the same, like 100,000 Miatas,
Yes.
but only 35,000.
Huh.
It's not very many.
The new Miata didn't have the buzz about it like the new FRS and BRZ when it came out.
Agreed. There wasn't like a monumental number jump because they broke it out by year.
The tuners and the aftermarkets, they like didn't go ape shit over it like they did the Toyo Baru.
Yeah,
I think that probably drove a lot of sales.
Yeah, agreed. There's some really sick, FRS BRZ builds out there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any like really crazy
Some
Miatas.
Ferrari engine swapped monstrosities.
I've seen like a Rocket Bunny Miata and that's it. You know what I mean?
Flying Miata's got their LS one. It's just
They pulled the engine out.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Let's just start over.
Yeah.
Let's try to make it a little mini Corvette.
Yeah.
So, but interestingly, they've sold over that same time period 471,000 Mustangs and 401,000 Camaros.
God,
That's
So
damn.
think about that.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
4 times as many.
So you can kind of make the argument that performance coupes don't sell.
However,
However,
they do sell.
They do
if
sell.
you get it right.
Yeah.
The Mustang or the Corvette. Wow, I can't even talk today. The Camaro has a lot of things right, but still has a lot of things wrong too.
Can't see anything.
I
out
hate
of it.
driving that car. I do.
Yeah.
I haven't driven the Mustang, so I can't tell you. I think it'd be better. Just after driving
looking
the,
at
after
it,
driving the
it's
Camaro, I
better.
can tell you I think it's better.
I thought for sure it would have been like 500,000 Mustangs, 250,000 Camaros because it's that bad to see out of.
I see so many Camaros.
They're
There's so
everywhere.
many V6 Camaros being driven around by everybody. So
Must be popular. Obviously, it is popular.
Yeah.
They're selling them. So I don't find that.
And they're inexpensive too. I mean, and that's comparative in the marketplace.
Yeah.
You take a 6-cylinder Camaro or Mustang for high 20 versus a 370Z at 45. Well, if you're a 25-year-old kid, what are you going to be able to afford?
well, even the FRS or the V6 Mustang, Michael and I have had this conversation many times. If I had to pick between the two, because they're nearly the same price, I'm taking the Mustang. It's a better, faster car for basically the same amount of money.
Back in 2014 now, technically, beginning of 2014, when I was pricing out buying a new car, I looked at a BRZ, and it was only like one option package above, it was like 27,000, and then the one option package that I wanted, because all I wanted was heated seats, but you had to get like 6 other things, of course. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
It was like $29,000 or $30,000. So it's $30,000 for a car that makes 150 foot-pounds of torque.
200 horse.
Or you could go over to the Ford dealership and get a Mustang with the EcoBoost.
Well,
with
at that
a few
time,
options.
you just had the V6.
True, yeah,
but
you did.
still.
320 horsepower or whatever.
Yeah.
320 horsepower, 300 and so foot-pounds of torque, or 200 and 150. There's your value proposition there. And, in America, we don't have a space problem. So, you could also say it's a little bigger car, but look, you got a trunk space and a back seat and all this stuff, So I think if you position yourself correctly in the market, you can make, there's an appeal for a sports sedan. And especially if they were going to do something like the FRS, but just have it factory turbocharged, I think that would be huge, even if you charged more than the FRS.
I also think that a Z would sell better than the FRS because there's so many people who are Z car fanatics because they've been around for so long.
Yep.
There's a lot of Robbies and Mikes out there.
That's true. They need to. Well, they should just discontinue 350Z or 370Z and move on to another platform. Like people have been saying for years, we need a Sylvia S16.
Yep.
It'd be a very popular.
How about
car.
they release the IDX that they've already said they're not going to
exactly.
There you go.
Or that.
Give us
that
an-
would sell.
Give us an IDX with a turbo. I don't even care how big the motor
Yep.
is. Just give us a turbocharger and let the aftermarket do their work at
Do
that
its
point.
thing.
Because there's a big
Yep.
difference between, spending a couple extra grand up front buying a car with a turbo motor versus having to go to an aftermarket company and buy like a $5,000 or $6,000 turbocharger package and then put it on your car and void your warranty.
Yeah, and in order to make that, like with the FRS, they're fairly high compression motors,
Right.
Which, I mean, boost is it's a ticking time bomb. No matter how good it's done, it's a ticking time bomb. When you're running high compression and boost on the street,
Yep.
something's bound to go wrong at some point. So,
Yeah, I agree. Just do it from the factory. You've got more control over it, and I think the market's there. But maybe they'll start listening to the show, Robbie.
I hope
and
so.
they'll catch on.
Gosh, I totally forgot about
Audi
the
did.
IDX. Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got, Robbie?
We wrap this up with an 8-year-old learns how to drive on YouTube and then takes his sister to McDonald's.
so this is probably written 8 years from now for me.
Yeah, probably.
Except he
Logan's
learned
going to steal the car?
Except that he learned how to play it on Forza because I made him, or he learned how to drive on Forza because I made him, and then he stole my car and went to McDonald's.
That would not surprise me.
That's probably
at all.
what this is probably going to repeat 8 years from now for sure.
I would, yeah.
But
The best part of the story is he had to go a mile, or a little over a mile. He had to negotiate some turns, and he had to drive through the drive-through.
he took it through the drive-through.
He took it through the drive-through.
Successfully.
No crashes.
I dated girls in high school that couldn't do that.
I know. I'm with you. I hear you 100%.
No
He's
co- no
8 years old.
comments. No comment on the girls you dated in high school.
8 years old, he was able to pull this off.
And he took his sister.
At 8
What a
years
guy.
old, how did he remember how to get there? Like, how many times has his mom taken him to that McDonald's that he knew, what do you make, like 5 left-hand turns and a right-hand turn?
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. I mean, the kid had to make 5, 6 turns and knew how to get to McDonald's his first time driving. I mean, the kid's a baller. Like, you know.
My thing was,
Someone
I
get
couldn't
this
have
kid
done
a
that at 8 years
car.
old. I've got kids. I don't know. My kids could drive down the street
My
more
point-
or less, get to McDonald's.
my thing on this was like, just give him a permit at this point. Like what?
He's proven himself already.
He's perfectly fine. Like just let him do it supervised because he drives a lot better than most people that have driver's licenses.
They said
Yeah.
people that saw it happen said he was actually driving safer than a bunch of other people that were in the same area at
He
the
was
same
actually
time.
stopping at stop signs.
He stopped at the stoplight. He waited. He waited for traffic to go until he turned left to get into the McDonald's parking lot. He successfully went through the drive-thru. He made his order. He paid with money from his piggy bank.
Yeah, he has his own money too, and he
It
paid
was-
for his sister.
This kid is so mature for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, just let him have a permit.
I
man.
can only dream of raising a kid this good.
Yeah.
I can't even be mad about it.
I'm not
I
mad
think
about
the cops were the same way. They're like, let's give this kid a medal or something. Let's shake his hand and send him home. Drive home. You're
Well,
fine.
how many times have you seen someone curb hop or curb rash a wheel
Oh,
in,
gosh.
in a McDonald's drive-thru?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it happens
Yeah.
over and over, and this kid pulls it off without doing anything.
His first time
that's
ever
impressive
driving.
Straight up.
Yeah, no, I think it's sick.
He's a prodigy.
Just let him drive.
Yeah, give him a racing license.
Give him
Just see what
somebody.
happens.
Somebody should call him up. And be like, hey, has this kid ever done any karting?
Yeah,
like,
I was going to say, let's get this kid in a cart. Let's get this going. He's
Yeah,
the future Fernando Alonso.
He could be. Yeah, this kid could be making $38 million.
Yeah.
In the future, a year.
Love it.
I thought it was interesting that somebody in the McDonald's knew him, and that's how he got caught. Like, what a shitty way to get caught.
Yeah, he called his grandparents, and then grandparents called the police.
Yeah. So it wasn't even like somebody's like, hey, there's an 8-year-old driving that car. They're like, hey, I know that kid. Why is he in the car? And then they called his grandparents. What a bummer, dude. He almost made it.
I also think it's funny that there's driving instruction videos on YouTube.
That doesn't surprise me. There's instruction videos for everything on YouTube. Like
I guess,
I mean, if I'm stumped on something, and I go to YouTube and search how to do this stupid thing that I should know how to do, but I don't know how to do because I'm stupid. And then there's some video of somebody
I'm
saying,
going
"Hey,"
to search that.
somebody's
Try
like,
it.
"Hey, stupid." It's so easy, and then they show you how to do it, and then you can go and do it.
I remember one I did recently. I was looking for a steering wheel adapter for the RX-7, and I wanted a Grant adapter. I was like, I couldn't find the Grant adapter. I'm like, has anybody put a Grant wheel on an RX-7 before? And I searched it in YouTube, and like 20,000 people have viewed this video.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, and it's a guy with his phone, from 5 years ago, and it's shaking. He can't see shit because it's all shaky. You know what I mean? And he's just talking, and I'm like, people watch that
There's
instructional.
20,000 other people
I know.
who wondered if they could put that wheel in their car.
I know.
Well, there was one that it's not on YouTube, which I might have to, but there was someone posted on the 240SX LS swap Facebook group the other day. They're like, "Hey, here's my setup for my speedometer. It doesn't work. Anyone had this problem?" And like the first 8 comments were like the period, like just to mark it so that
Yep.
they would get notifications if someone commented.
Side note, you can turn on notifications for a post without commenting on it.
Okay, Mr. Fancy.
Did you
Facebook
not
guy.
know that? Did you
Drives
not
me
know that,
nuts.
Robbie?
Oh, I knew you could.
Oh, okay.
These are the people that didn't. So
Drives me
Social
nuts.
etiquette on
So then
Facebook.
there's a couple other people that said, "Hey, I don't know. I'm stumped. My speedometer's never worked either." So then I just wrote up a quick paragraph about like, I got mine to work by doing this. And then someone confirmed it, and then, that would have made that every one of those people went on YouTube.
You should make that a YouTube video. You could have 20,000 views too, Robbie.
I might have to.
You could have made
10 here's how to set up
you
your
could have made 30
speedometer.
cents off YouTube monetization if you had done that.
Man, I could be YouTube famous.
You could be YouTube famous, Robbie.
Cash all that dollar.
Don't you need $10 for the let you withdraw it or
100, you
something?
need 100.
Yeah, so
Well, you also need 10,000 views to monetize now.
Yep.
Yeah,
They've
They're
made
making
some
it
changes.
harder for us.
whatever.
We're getting there.
I wouldn't worry about it.
So anyway, cool kid.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Like where his head's at.
That was better
He's
than
going places.
That was better than the story I was going to put on the list about crazy driving crap. Did you see the dude in, I think, Australia that had an unregistered car? It was like a Ford Escort. He was pulling a 20,000 gallon. It was like a water tank, on a farm. He had like toe straps around it and was pulling it
not
on
like
the
on
ground.
a trailer.
No.
No, just drag
Just
it.
drag
No,
it.
I think it was on a trailer, but the trailer was broken and the axle had fallen off, so he was dragging it. So the car's unregistered. He doesn't have a license, and he's dragging this broken trailer with no axle water tank thing down the road, and they caught him, and obviously he was not sober. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say,
kidding.
how high was he?
Yeah. So anyway, that was my driving story. I think yours was better.
It was much happier.
Yours was more
that's for
heartwarming.
sure.
Mine was kind of weird.
I just found it funny being a father.
Yeah,
I can
believe
see that
It's
from my
relatable.
kid coming here soon.
Yeah. At least you didn't get charged with anything either.
No,
And
and his parents didn't either.
Parents
Just-
didn't get
they're
charged, so
Hey, it's a cute story. Everyone's fine.
it's a happy story.
Surprised that they didn't get child endangerment or something like that
Yeah.
in this day and age,
I think maybe it was a small town and everybody, kind of
Yeah.
had a laugh and
Good.
moved on.
That's the right way to respond to that.
It's less common in this world, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
in this day and age. So I think that's all we got for news. Mike, thank you very much for spending a little time and getting away from the Juke for a little bit to come on the show and entertain us with some of your stories. So we greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate everything Titan Fuel Tanks has done for us. So
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and thanks for helping expose the brand.
Absolutely.
sounds good. We'll catch you later.
All right, later, guys.
Intro, social media, Adam's opener.
I'm not doing it. It's not happening.
All right, well, I'm going to bring it up, and then you're going to say that you're not doing it.
I don't even get the joke.
That's the best part.
As a listener, I'm going to tell you I get the joke.
God damn it.
He said yesterday, literally nobody understands what that means.
I don't get it.